Greetings, it is Max So Dizzily here, and today I am here with another Python tutorial to help you get an A in your coursework or exam, and today we're here with how to validate a password using Python. So let's get right into it. In this tutorial we're going to be doing the following checks. Checking if the password length is greater than a value and lower than a value, which is basically a range check. There'll be an I up in the corner if you want a range check tutorial, if you want to learn more about that. We also then have 4 requirements. Is there a digit? Is there an uppercase character? Is there a lowercase character? And is there a special character? You can customize this, so you don't need all of these, or you could add even more requirements if you desire. So let's get into it. We have got user input and it's max123 exclamation mark. This is going to represent our user input. We are not teaching you how to get user input, we are teaching you how to validate user input, a little disclaimer. Then we've got print is valid password user input. We're going to print out the result of the is valid password function, and we pass in user input, which is the password we wish to validate. Let's get into defining our function. We have got def is valid password, password colon. Define is valid password, and we take in password as a parameter. This will be the password we wish to validate. Then we've got an if statement. If len password is greater than 5 and len password is less than 15, then a colon. What's going on here? Well, len just simply gets the length of a string that you pass into the function. And we're checking if the length is greater than 5 and we're checking if the length is less than 15. So the password has to be greater than 5 characters long and less than 15 characters long. It can't be greater than 5 but also greater than 15, or less than 5 and less than 15. It has to match both criteria, otherwise by default it's going to be a false. So we can do else and false, because if it isn't in the range we want it to be, it doesn't matter if it has all of the other criteria, it can't be valid. Inside, we are going to do 4 variables. We're going to do lowercase equals false, uppercase equals false, num equals false, and special equals false. Basically, these are going to be 4 booleans. And we're going to loop through the entire string. And when we find a character that matches being lowercase, uppercase, a number, or a special character, we're going to set these to true, and then at the end we're going to see if all of these are true or not. If all are true, the password matches the criteria. If at least one is false, then the password doesn't match all criteria and is therefore invalid. And we can do this by doing a little for loop. For char in password. So we're doing a for loop, and this type of for loop is each iteration we're going to have char take on a character in this string. So the first iteration will take on the character in element 0, then element 1, element 2, element 3, until we hit the end of the string. A string is basically a character array, which is why I was saying element. So that's why we have char, and then we have obviously password, it's the string we want to loop through. So we do if char.isDigit num equals true. If the current character we're checking in this string is a digit, then there's a number in the password, so we can set num to be true. If char.isLower, lowercase equals true. Why? It's like the same as before. If this character is a lowercase letter, that means it matches the criteria of having a lowercase letter. If char.isUpper, uppercase equals true. If the current character we're looking at is an uppercase letter, one of the criteria has been met, so we set it to true. Then we do if not char.isAl num, special equals true. What's going on here? Well, I'll tell you what's going on here. We're actually checking if this character isn't a number or a letter. If it's not a number or a letter, then it's a special character. So we can just do a not beforehand to check for a false. So if this character isn't a letter or a number, which is the isAl num function, special is true because there's a special character. And what happens is we're going to check every character in this for loop, starting from the first character to the last character of this string. And that's what this code does. Then we would do return, lowercase and uppercase and num and special. Why? Well, simple Boolean algebra states, with an AND statement, everything must be true for a true. If something is false, regardless if everything else is true, then the overall Boolean algebra is false. So for an AND statement to be true, everything must be true. And so what happens is, where we call the isValidPassword function, this return is going to combine all of these Booleans into a true or a false, and then return that to where the function is called. All of these have to be true for a true to be returned overall, otherwise it's going to be a false that's returned because the password's not valid because not all the criteria has been met. For the else statement, we do return false because if it's not a valid length, no point looping through the password to check if it has all other criteria. And that's it for this tutorial, so save your code and hit play. And this is a true because max123 exclamation mark is between 5 and 15 characters long. It also has an uppercase, lowercase, number, and special character. Let's try this, but we put a bunch of A's on the end, so this is over 15 characters long. And it's false, because it didn't even get a chance to check the lowercase, uppercase, number, and special because the length was invalid. Let's try 6 A's. That's false because it doesn't have a digit, an upper, or a special character. I'd also like to say is upper and is lower is checking for uppercase and lowercase letters. Just to clarify, it only applies for letters, so don't worry about that. But that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for being a great audience, and be sure to subscribe for more Python tutorials.